Good morning, everyone. This pen we only use on very special occasions, meaning that there's an agreement that is signed or going to be signed. Dear State Secretary Syrstad, ambassadors and representatives from industry and companies interested in Mercosur. My name is Eva Kammerer and I'm heading Invest in Norway and the Norwegian Trade Promotion Organization here at Innovation Norway. Together with the Norwegian, Brazilian Chamber of Commerce and on behalf of the whole of Team Norway, we are very happy to host this breakfast seminar marking the new free trade agreement with the Mercosur countries, between EFTA and the Mercosur countries. The Ministry of Trade and Industry will talk more about this free trade agreement very shortly. I know you're all very curious. But first, I would like to say that Innovation Norway, we are very excited about this agreement and all the opportunities that it creates for export and investment from companies on both sides. Reducing tariffs and trade barriers between friendly nations is a very welcome development at this time. So, Mercosur, it exists of America, Brazil, Paraguay and Uruguay, with approximately 270 million consumers covering an enormous area.
Argentina also.
Argentina, of course. So glad you said that. Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay and Uruguay. And these are democratic and resource-rich countries. And Norway also has a long-standing history of friendship and business relations with these countries. So particularly with Brazil, with whom we have traded klippfisk, bacalhau, and coffee for a very long time. And today, Brazil represents the third largest destination for Norwegian investments after the EU and the US. So that's pretty impressive. Over 200 Norwegian companies are present in Brazil, and they employ over 30,000 Brazilians in their subsidiaries directly, but of course are contributing to many, many more jobs indirectly. We export a lot of technology and services to the maritime sector and the offshore sector, as well as fertilizers to the agriculture sector, and still a lot of fish. And Brazil exports minerals, foodstuffs like soy, as well as great technology like airplanes. We also have extensive research and academic collaboration with grants for innovation, technology development and exchange on both sides. In Innovation Norway, we have an office in Rio de Janeiro, which Thomas is heading up, and a satellite office in Sao Paulo, which is the largest city in the entire Americas. So together with embassies, consulates, chambers of commerce and other organizations in Team Norway, we are here ready to assist Norwegian companies who wish to explore the Brazilian market and Brazilian companies that wish to invest here in Norway. We believe that this agreement will expand opportunities in existing sectors and open new ones. And we are here to assist, so please feel free to get in touch with us. And with that, I give the floor to the Ministry of Trade and Industry of Norway to give some more details about this agreement. Please welcome State Secretary Syrstad.
Good morning. It's a great privilege for me to be here today to talk to you about the important trade agreement between EFTA and the Mercosur states. Your input and views help shape our decisions and ensure that agreements such as this one deliver tangible benefits and necessary predictability to our business communities. And this is especially important today. We are living in a time of growing geopolitical uncertainty. Global trade rules are under pressure and protectionism is gaining ground in many parts of the world. In such a climate, strong partnerships and predictable frameworks are more important than ever. And that is why trade agreements matter. They are not just legal documents, they are strategic tools that foster stability, build trust and unlock opportunities. EFTA has been actively working to strengthen and expand our network of trade agreements. In the past year alone, we have signed new agreements with Thailand, Kosovo, and Malaysia. The free trade agreement with India will enter into force into October, very soon. And on the 2nd of July, we reached another significant milestone. EFTA and Mercosur concluded negotiations on a free trade agreement. And rest assured, Norway will spare no efforts in preparing the agreement for signature as soon as possible, and will subsequently present it to the Parliament for ratification. This agreement will deepen the trade relationship between Norway and Brazil. It will open doors to new business opportunities, facilitate new investments, drive innovation, and create jobs on both sides of the Atlantic. And I'm particularly keen to see the agreement pave the way for developing green solutions and growth as contribution to the green transition. Norway has been among the pioneers for renewable energy, and we are now seeing expertise from our petroleum sector being applied to renewables such as offshore wind, carbon capture and storage, and hydrogen technologies. Norwegian companies are already investing heavily in Brazil's new renewable energy sector. And with the added predictability that this agreement will bring, we expect even more investments and collaboration in the years ahead. Almost 250 Norwegian companies in different sectors are already present in Brazil. But this is just the beginning. I look forward to seeing these numbers grow further once the FTA enters into force. Thank you. And I believe the head negotiator will give some more detail about the agreement. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sales Secretary. So now I think what you all came here for, the details in the agreement, will be presented by Advisor and Chief Negotiator Henrik Weiser. Please come up to the stage, Henrik, and give us some more details.
Thank you, Eva. As you know, the agreement, there was a big announcement on 2nd of July, but the agreement has not yet been signed, and neither has it been published. So for that reason, there are some limitations as to how far I can go into the details and the nitty-gritties of the agreement, but I will try to give you some insight of the main elements of the agreement in order for you to have an impression of what it's all about. So let me start with the core element of all trade agreements, namely the trading goods part. So there is a chapter on trading goods with a number of annexes which foresee what we call tariff elimination, so the removal of tariffs on goods. And in this agreement, what I can reveal is that for exports from Norway to Brazil, almost all exports within the industrial sector, meaning all products except for agricultural products, will be subject to tariff elimination. So tariff will be gone. However, it will happen over a certain period of time. So for almost 60% of the exports of such products, like the current products, the current exports, there will be tariff elimination from day one. For the remaining 40%, the tariff elimination will happen gradually over a certain period of time. This is defined in the agreement. And as you may already have concluded, the gradual tariff dismantling periods relate to the more sensitive products of the counterparts. I should also say that the chapter on goods includes also a number of other important issues relating to trading goods, allowing the trade to flow freely, such as prohibition of quantitative restrictions, disciplines on import licensing, and so forth, and more. There are also separate chapters in the agreement relating to goods-related issues, but dealing with more specific topics. And one such chapter is the chapter on technical barriers to trade, what we call the TBT agreement. This chapter addresses product requirements and aims at limiting the use of such requirements as means of protecting domestic industries. Another one is the chapter on sanitary and phytosanitary measures, the SPS agreement. This chapter addresses requirements for animal and plant products and is important for the export of seafood, obviously. Both the TBT and the SPS chapters build on respective agreements in the WTO, adding a few elements more. So the idea is to limit the use of import requirements other than those that are necessary in order to fulfill legitimate objectives. So necessary protection is okay, more than necessary is not. And these two chapters also contain provisions granting smooth and swift handling of goods when problems occur, such as when they are withdrawn from the market or stopped at the border and so forth. So let me then turn to two other important chapters, namely trade in services and investments. The objective of these chapters is to allow providers of services and investors to operate in the partner country on terms equal to domestic operators, to give them what we call national treatment, so national treatment obligations. The sectors that are subject to such national treatment are listed in specific annexes for each of the parties to the agreement. So each party have separate annexes listing their commitments in these in a listed number of sectors. For Norway, it has been important to include sectors where there are currently Norwegian establishments abroad, or where Norwegian businesses have significant experience at home. So this has been defined in analysis that took place before we embarked on this adventure, and is based on analysis and consultations with industry. One specific sector which may be of interest to some of you is maritime services. So commitments on maritime services have been a priority throughout the negotiations, and I'm happy to share that two important steps are foreseen under this agreement. Firstly, you can expect good news with regard to the lighthouse fees that are currently applicable to non-Brazilian vessels in Brazil. There are lighthouse fees discriminating between domestic vessels and foreign vessels, upon some requirements though. And secondly, it is foreseen that after a number of years, I cannot go into detail, but after a number of years, there will be an end to discrimination from cargo sharing agreements between Brazil and neighboring countries. So these elements that would limit the commercial potential will be removed. Another issue of importance to some industries are the chapter on intellectual property rights, IPR. The objective of the IPR provisions in the agreement is to protect ideas and thereby stimulate creativity. This is done by including provisions on protection of patents, trademarks, copyrights, design, and more. And I should add that this has been extremely important part of the agreement for our partner country, Switzerland. It is important for Norway too, but Switzerland has, let's say, pushed that issue to the benefit of all the EFTA states. The agreement also includes provisions on government procurement of goods and services, also known as public procurement. Such provisions are often very large contracts and therefore of interest to non-domestic operators. And the chapter on government procurement is based on the Government Procurement Agreement in WTO, the GPA, providing national treatment to operators in the other party in a specified number of sectors listed in another annex. And in this context, I want to add that the Mercosur states are not party to the GPA agreement in WTO. So this FTA will therefore provide Norwegian providers of goods and services with access to the public procurement market in the Mercosur states, which most countries don't have. So there's a preferable access to this market compared with those without such an agreement with Mercosur. One topic that has been much discussed in these negotiations, maybe not too relevant here, but still, is the chapter of trade and sustainable development, which has become a more and more important part of our work. The agreement includes two bodies of text which together constitute the parties' obligations in this area. The first is a chapter. It was finalized already back in 2019. The chapter is based on the EFTA model text and contains a number of sustainability issues such as climate and environment protection, labor rights, indigenous peoples' rights, deforestation, and so forth. And their relationship with trade. So the idea is to have provisions on how these issues relate to trade and establish obligations in that respect. Then there is a record of understanding on the same issues. This was negotiated quite recently, based on specific requests by the parties. And to understand the existence of this last document, we must recall that EU and Mercosur did last year agree on such an additional document with additional provisions. And that was the basis for why EFTA did contemplate on having something similar. I should be careful because it's not equal. It's a different piece of text with different provisions, because there are different situations in EU and EFTA, but there is an additional element that came into place recently. Finally, I would like to point at the provisions on dialogue and enforcement in the agreement. And why is that? The agreement establishes a joint committee, which is the main forum for dialogue between the parties. The joint committee consists of representatives from the parties and meet on a regular basis. And in that committee, the parties can raise any issue they may have, but in particular relating to the implementation of the agreement. The value of this committee is often forgotten, but I consider it quite important. The joint committee provides the parties with an effective channel of communication to be used whenever needed. Also between the regular meetings. If any issue arises, you call for a meeting in the joint committee and you're obliged to show up within a certain period of time. If, for instance, a local authority representative does not live up to the obligations under the agreement, and we can imagine it may happen, it may prove effective to shed light on this practice in the joint committee, where representatives from central government are present, also being responsible for the implementation. Then there is the dispute settlement system in the agreement. This is dealt with by a group of quite gifted lawyers, and I won't go into detail, but the parties have a right to request the establishment of a panel should they not reach agreement by other means, like dialogue and consultations. It's an arbitration panel, and they are obliged to abide by any ruling that may derive from such a process. including like suspension of benefits and compensation elements, but again, without going into detail. No such disputes have so far taken place under any of the EFTA agreements yet. However, the existence of such an enforcement mechanism should not be underestimated as a reason why parties tend to implement the agreement carefully, and maybe crucial for the actual implementation. So by this, and trying to be brief, I didn't manage to cover much, but I hope you got a glimpse of the main elements in this agreement, but without revealing any critical details that may come when the agreement is finally published. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Henrik. I would actually really like to thank you for being so open with us, and we will all dive into the details and annexes when the agreement is signed. But could you reveal a bit on the pace of implementation, or is it too soon?
Well, all the parties are working intensively to make this agreement signed as soon as possible. And I assume this will take place within the foreseeable close future.
And then it will sort of gradually be implemented.
So now we're talking about ratification. So first, the agreement will be signed and published. This usually happens at the same time. Then the ministry will present the agreement for the parliament. So there will be a parliamentary bill. The agreement will be translated and presented to the parliament, probably by the spring of next year. And once the agreement has been when the parliament bill has passed the parliament, then there will be a ratification process defined in the agreement. So there is a deposit of notification of deposit documents that will be and so forth. This is a rather technical process, but within some months after the parliamentary process, it may enter into force for Norway. So in order for the agreement to enter into force, that requires that at least one party on each side, so one EFTA state and one Mercosur state, will complete its ratification process. Then the agreement will enter into force for those two parties. Then for the other parties involved, it will enter into force once they have also completed their ratification process. We assume that by the late of next fall, so within 2026, we expect this to enter into force. Given that also at least one party on the other side will do the same.
Yeah, fantastic. And also fantastic what you said about this committee and all these sort of good relationships that have been built throughout the negotiations. Hopefully there will be time for some questions later on, but now I would like to welcome up on stage two ambassadors. The Brazilian ambassador, Azevedo Santos, please come up on stage. And of course also the Norwegian ambassador to Brazil, Odd Magnerud. So, both of you, you've worked closely with the Norway-Brazil relations for the past 4 years. Could you tell us a little bit about the size of the trade relations between Norway and Brazil, Odd Magne? How do you think this agreement will impact those?
So, as the State Secretary said, we are the third largest after the US and European Union. Brazil is the third most important country for Norwegian investment. Has been for some time. Every second year we issue an investment report together with your colleagues in Rio, Thomas, and the consulate, where we present the investments over a 2-year span. And there's a new report coming now in the October, November, Thomas. So we are looking very much forward to that. We have seen, still in Norway, in Brazil is still oil and gas. 62% of investments are in oil and gas. But we see an increase in green investments, for instance. And we have all the big companies, 230 companies in Brazil. All the biggest are there, and we have representatives, Yara, Hydro, Seafood Council, Equinor. So there is and perhaps it's a secret how important Brazil is. But I looked at the numbers yesterday on the Statistics Bureau, and actually also on trade.
Yeah.
This is a very important relationship. It's Europe, several countries in Europe, of course, Sweden, Finland, and so on. Then there's the US, but then China, and then Brazil. So Brazil is bigger than South Korea, Japan, when it comes to trade. So for us, this is a really important, almost a secret here in Norway, how important Brazil is for us. But really, really important. And, also the potential is vast.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's quite groundbreaking.
It
Ambassador Sanders, on your side of the table, how do you sort of foresee or expect the relations between our countries evolve because of this agreement?
So first of all, thank you for the invitation, State Secretary Eric. Congratulations for a good job. It's a pleasure, and thank you, Innovation Norway, for the invitation. Well, yes, as much has been said by the previous speakers about the potential of this agreement and how important our bilateral economic relations are. But for sure, the agreement also will help to push it even more, our bilateral and economic cooperation. There are some particular segments that we see that are a lot of opportunities on Brazil's perspective. Not only some of the agriculture commodities that we understand are in the different chapter on the trade or tariff elimination, but also on industrial goods. And that's what we also would like to see. More cooperation and trade. As you said, it's very important already, our bilateral trade. But I believe also, in order to not keep it as a secret anymore, we have to work together also, because market access is very important, but also we have to promote this. And that's what we are doing here. So people, they have to know about it. Otherwise, negotiations are very, very important, but also as important as the negotiations are the initiatives that we have to take together to promote it to the different industrial segments. So we see also, we're talking about sustainable fuels for maritime transportation, for example, that we are talking about it, very strategic sectors, even oil and gas. You have your investments in Brazil, but also we have a very developed industry in Brazil. So some of these companies that supply goods and services in the oil and gas sector in Brazil, we see that it could have some space, market in Norway, and even working together, of course, with Norwegian companies. So yes, there are a lot of things that we see we can develop even further. But if I may add something that Eric talked about it, and thank you for your explanation, but this trade facilitation also is very important. For instance, self-certification of origin, also mutual recognition of authorized economic operators. So this will facilitate a lot, less bureaucracy for traders, for doing business, amongst EFTA and Mercosur countries. It's also very important.
Thank you so much to both of you, all three of you. And there might be some time afterwards for some questions, but now I want to say thank you. You can go down and sit, and I will have two new people up on stage, which is the industry itself. So very much an applause to the gentlemen. I would like to welcome Dag Eckelberg. He represents a big company already present in Brazil, Yara, and the director of the Norwegian Seafood Council, Christian Kramer. Please come up on stage. So, Dag, you have followed this agreement closely. What do you see as the direct implications of this for both for Yara and related sectors?
Oh, there's a lot. But first of all, I want to thank Henrik Weiser and his team for the fantastic job they've done. I followed this since 2019, and I know they have put a great weight on important products from Norway, like fertilizer. So this has been a high priority for the team from the start, and up until the latest hours this summer, we were in close dialogue also with experts, colleagues of mine from Porsgrunn, to secure the details. So this has been, I think, a great collaboration, and also thank you to the ambassadors who have done a great job, also to Halvor Sæter in Argentina. Great efforts. So I think this has been a good example of how Team Norway can really work and create results. So big thank you. For Yara, of course, we have a large footprint in Brazil and also in Argentina. That's a market that is growing a lot, and we have huge ambitions. But Brazil, of course, we have production there. We have thousands of employees there. So this creates more predictability, more opportunities. So it's really something that we are looking forward to explore. Of course, with the elimination of tariffs, that means a lot for Argentina, especially because there's a 6% tariff on fertilizer today. This will be reduced to or eliminated after 4 years, that's great. That really means something for the bottom line. So yeah, I think this is a great achievement, and for a small country, open economy, and all that, we know the arguments. To explore and find new trade agreements is extremely important now in the whole geopolitical environment that we see. We have to step up and secure the agreements that we have and seek new. So this is a great achievement.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dag. Christian, you are really one of the sectors that have the longest history in trading with these countries. How do you see this agreement like a pathway to growth, and also considering the other geopolitical situations that especially affects the seafood sector?
Yeah, I think 200 years is the ballpark we are talking about when it comes to bacalao and clipfish from Norway. So it's very important and has been a cornerstone of our trade. You mentioned coffee in your presentation and the trade between Norway and Brazil. So we think this is really important to build on the strong relationship, the strong brand we have, and I think it's a vital part of everything we do now today to ensure that we have better trading relations between several countries, and to build on the strong relationship with Brazil and the countries in South America is of course very important to us. We build from the 200 years of the bacalao trade, and the companies that are there are in strong relationship with Brazilian partners, and very often in family relationships. Trade has been flowing very well, but still I think what the chief negotiator mentioned on the SPS agreement, on the ways of arriving with food products in Brazil, it's very timely. It's very often seasonal. It's amassing of products towards Easter and Christmas celebration. So to be sure that we have an easy access to Brazil, where matters of urgency can be handled quickly under this agreement, and improvement in the current relation is extremely important. And to just briefly touch upon your questions on what are the future perspectives, the advantages and the new trends. Brazil is already a great salmon loving country, but most of your salmon will be bought from Chile, a great competitor of Norway. You already eat more than 100,000 tons of Norway. 7% of our total production could go to Brazil if it was Norwegian salmon in Brazil. So of course we think that will be a prosperous future market for high-end quality product for salmon and trout. And with the trade agreement in place, when it's signed and the ratification process is well underway, I think that we will see more salmon go into Brazil, which I think will build on the strong brand that we have for Norwegian products. The Bacalhau de Noruega will be supplemented or added to by the Norwegian salmon and trout, which I think will be a great opportunity for companies from Norway and for the trade and production in Brazil.
So you think that this could increase trade on both sides in other food and beverage areas?
I think very clearly. I think we have a lot of history to build on, a lot of good brand partnership,
Yeah.
and also a prominent place in the consumer's perception of Norway is based on seafood. So I think to just add to that can be very important. And I think everyone here in the room is thinking a lot of trade relations and how we can build strong ties to countries that are friendly when it comes to trade. And this is a very important step in this matter.
So, Doug, what is your growth expectations now, given this agreement?
Yeah, as I mentioned, Yara has a global footprint. We are already based in Brazil and Argentina. We've been there in Argentina for over 30 years, and in Brazil not so long. But free trade agreements like this one is, I think, we shall not underestimate the value of it. I mean, to have commitments with regions and countries with whom we share values is increasingly important. And for Norway, of course, again, we have to be part of this. We are totally dependent on it. We need market access. So free trade agreements is definitely crucial. And for Yara, for us, this means opportunities to develop further. We have already a lot of initiatives, especially in Brazil, when it comes to decarbonizing agriculture and produce fertilizer in a much more sustainable way, exploring the opportunities coming from biomethane, for example. So these are our products. We have a big name in the Mercosur countries when it comes to premium products. I think we have better products than the Russians, for example. And that Russia is definitely, no doubt, a big challenge for us in Brazil. So the whole geopolitical situation that we see now creates challenges for us. We have to adjust all the time. But to secure more predictability and trade relations to countries like Brazil and Argentina is definitely getting more and more important.
Christian?
Just to bring one element of future development in Brazil into the equation, I think we celebrate its 40 years this year since Norway went to Japan with Norwegian salmon to introduce it to sushi and sashimi. If my numbers are right, I think the largest expat and Japanese heritage contingency out of Japan would be found in Sao Paulo. So we have a lot of Japanese restaurants, lots of strong traditions of bringing Japanese food culture into Brazil. So to tap into that, to continue building on maybe our strongest innovation when it comes to food in Norway, the sushi and sashimi and now poke. I think that's something to be really focusing in our marketing. And once we have the agreement in place, I think it will be very, very clear that the companies in Norway will be looking for new and unsought terrain in Brazil to bring the salmon, sushi and sashimi to Brazil in a new way. And it can be with a large, already established desire for salmon, and now with a better trade agreement with a lower tariff, now 10%. And if the agreement is as good as he said, down to 0, of course, that's a great margin down from 10 to 0.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much, both of you. An applause. And then I would like, you can just stay here. We have a bit of a small stage with a big pen, but I would still like the two ambassadors to get back on stage, and also Henrik. I think the audience here is probably quite curious also to ask some questions. But I will ask all of you one question and be very brief in your answer. If you could mention one desired outcome of this agreement and the reason from your perspective, what would that be? Start with you, Doug.
Okay, one. Well, increased global food security. I think that's obvious, and I know that Yara can contribute to more sustainable agriculture and so on. So, and this partnership, closer collaboration with the Mercosur countries, I think that's a great step in the right direction.
Ambassador?
Well, taking the benefit of Doug's answer, I would love to see more Brazilian products in Norway, of course, and Argentinian products as well. You've mentioned the salmon, but we would love to see more Brazilian Argentinian beef, more Brazilian Argentinian seafood as well, shrimps. So, yeah, as I said, this is a way also for people to know the potential of the markets and to know more about our culture as well. You mentioned how important the bacalhau is for the Brazilian society, but also I'd like to see more food and beverage, of course. It's very, very important chapter on this, potential of trade between the both countries. So that will be my desire, to see, to have more access to Brazilian beef, for example. It would be very nice for everyone, I believe.
Henrik?
Thank you. I couldn't agree more what has been said. However, I will take the more technical approach as a negotiator, and I hope that importers and exporters alike in Brazil and Norway will get to know this agreement as a forum for solving problems, raising issues, and believe that the parties will genuinely try to find solutions to their problems within that framework. Thank you.
Christian?
I think in Portuguese, the Brazilian ambassador would say aqui e agora. Here and now is the most important. The salmon will be important in a few years, 1 year of ratification process. The most important thing in prospect I hope for is to see the smooth transition of the current trade of bacalhau, which is so important for Norway. 1 billion Norwegian kroner annually, and to have that ship transportation arriving in Brazil, smooth sanitary inspections and so on, that will be the most important perspective of what's currently the most important thing to see.
Thank you.
Agree. By the way, we took the first container of smoked salmon to Sao Paulo in April this year. That was a really great thing. We worked really hard to do that, and I hope that can open the salmon trade to Sao Paulo. 60% of Chilean salmon goes to Sao Paulo. So it's a really important market. With Dag, I agree completely. Brazil needs a sustainable agriculture. It's one of the major producers of agribusiness in the world. But taking a bigger picture, and our colleagues from Argentina also, this is a agreement that encompasses 300 million people. Brazil alone is 200, but in this day and age, with our friends in the US and so on, this agreement is really important to further deepen, not only on trade and investment, but also on political cooperation. So I think that's my hope.
Yeah. Thanks to all of you. Then I have to introduce someone that you really got to get to know, because that's the key person and his team, which is some of them are also here, and that is Thomas, who is heading up our office in Brazil, and of course also looking to the other countries within this agreement. And Thomas, welcome to the stage. And then I think we should open up for a few questions also from the audience.
Yes, thank you so much, Eva. And hello, everyone. So my name is Thomas Conradi Granli, and I'm the director of Innovation Norway in Brazil. I'm based in lovely Rio de Janeiro. We also have a satellite office, as Eva said, in Sao Paulo, the largest city in the whole Americas, even larger than Mexico City. I would like to say, first and foremost, that I'm also very excited by this agreement. And we have the big pen here in the background, so we're creating a lot of pressure here for you all to work for signing this and ratifying it. And I'm very excited on behalf of the small and medium-sized businesses, because as Henrik talked about, we're reducing not only tariffs, but also trade barriers, risk, opening up for services, all kinds of industrial products. And what we see in Brazil and also Argentina, we're not forgetting Argentina. Please do. Sorry about that. But we do have, a big Team Norway environment in Brazil, but also in Argentina. We have the embassies, of course. We also have Norwep present in both countries. And what we see is that a lot of, for small and medium-sized businesses to handle, the bureaucratic challenges, the trade barriers, tariffs, taxes and so on, that is really challenging. For the big guys like Yara, it's already challenging, right? But for the small and medium-sized companies, this can be a really groundbreaking door opener on both sides. And yes, by the way, I mean there is a lot of good stuff coming from your countries this way as well. Usually when I travel from Brazil to Norway, I stop in Amsterdam and then I sit on an Embraer airplane from Amsterdam to Oslo, and that's very, very nice.
True.
So with that, I think we open the floor for some questions. Don't be shy.
My name is Sten Gunnar Bonnevik. I used to have the job that Thomas has now. Parabéns para todos. It's a great day, and I couldn't agree more with the ambassadors that this is a well-kept secret. How important, especially Brazil, but how important also I think Argentina can be. I now represent Renewables Norway, part of the Confederation of Industries, NHO. And of course, renewables is an important sector. I head the international network and try to sort of gather companies with an interest for export and internationalization to look out. I'm interested in hearing what will be done in the time that are ahead of us now. Will this agreement result in let's say more trade offices? And I know that Innovation Norway only has one office in all of South America. I would like to hear if this opens up for even more people that work with trade relations. I think that's really important. Also, I am interested in hearing, will there be any other initiatives towards the business sector in Norway in terms of informing, in terms of inviting, in terms of delegations and stuff? I think this is really needed because it won't happen if we can read about it, but it won't happen unless we actually go there and we form what's the word? We form agreements, not just agreements, but also relationships, of course, so that people know each other on a personal basis. So I think this needs to be followed up, and I would like to hear other plans for following this up so that we actually get things going.
Yeah, I think I could start. First of all, I would love to see more Innovation Norway offices across this region, but that's we are a demand-led organization, so I think the demand has to come first, and hopefully it will. But I think we are definitely planning a lot of activities together with the rest of Team Norway going forward, because and this is the first step, right? Because as you say, as the Ambassador Rodrigo was also mentioning, one thing is the agreement itself, but the other part is the companies, industry knowing about the opportunities, and then also the implementation on both sides. Don't know if you want to add something to that.
No, thank you. Thank you for the question. I think we have already talked to our good colleagues also in Buenos Aires about trying to develop some kind of seminar about how this is perceived in Brazil and in Argentina and in Uruguay and Paraguay. So my successor here, Kjetil Verestad, Kjetil Elstangen, he is taking over in 1st of December from me, and we are already in process of preparing some, at least in Brazil, with Team Norway. Also just to say that Team Norway is really well placed in Brazil because we have all the big actors. We have Seafood Council, we have the Ship Owners Association, we have Norwep, and we have Innovation Norway, together with our consulate in Rio and the embassy in Brasilia. And the collaboration with Argentina on this agreement and with Henrik and his team has been really, really good. And so we are trying to build on that cooperation. And know, Rodrigo, that India, they open a special office for EFTA investments, EFTA trade, after the agreement with India.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if Brazil is going to do something like that, but also working with the Brazilians on kind of making this access easier.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we actually have the former director of Innovation Norway India sitting in the back here. Christian, maybe. Yeah, would you like to comment?
No, I was thinking about commenting on the consequences of the EFTA-India trade agreement. My name is Christian Carter. I'm the head of innovation policy and strategy here at Innovation Norway. I spent 4.5 years in India, and as you know, probably we signed an FTA with India in 2024, and I mean tariffs. That's fine. I mean we have now secured 0 tariffs for more than 90% of what we export to India, and that is more like a technical aspect of it. But the ease of doing business is really increasing in a country like India, and I hope to see the same happening in the Mercosur market, because that is actually the really value add. The bureaucracy, the government's willingness to facilitate investments and business in India has increased substantially, and that has created a lot of awareness among our countries. So that's I think that's a consequence that you will benefit on. The other thing that I'm also seeing is that, I mean, since 2024 we have signed trade agreements with India, with Thailand, with Malaysia, and now with Mercosur. We've also renewed an FTA with Chile. So the emerging markets and the global south is becoming more and more relevant for our companies, and especially now when 15% tariff is the new 0. We're now securing 0 tariffs with the markets that are growing the strongest. So that's yeah, just a reflection from my side.
Yeah, but if I can build on that, and a question to you, Henrik, perhaps, because as I said, really excited about opportunities for SMBs, but particularly, you know, the opening of all industrial goods, right, or the reduction of tariffs on nearly all industrial goods. That is, I think, we don't know all the details, but it's incredible news. And also equal treatment of services, because I think services is often a underestimated, you know, challenge for companies to deliver across borders. So opening for services is particularly interesting as well. But can you say something more about, you know, go a little bit deeper on specific sectors or segments that have been particularly contemplated in this agreement?
I think the result is the important in this case. The negotiations on goods were completed some years back. As you know, we had there was an announcement also in 2019, which happened not to materialize. So we agreed in 2019, and then for different reasons, the process was put on hold and the agreement was never signed. And most of the goods negotiations took place ahead of the 2019 announcement. So in some ways, the agreement bears the mark of a 2019 edition FTA. Anyway.
But you mentioned maritime services, for instance, which is of course very important to Norwegian companies. Ship Owners Association, also very interested in this topic. Not able to participate today for personal reasons, unfortunately. But so, can you say something more about segmentation, or is it?
It's not very sensitive, but it's quite technical, and okay. Those experts involved in this services negotiations, they have quite long Excel sheets. But what I can say on a general note is that we are looking in opening the market for those sectors where Norway currently are exporting or have a competitive advantage and expertise. So this is what we work on the basis of. And we don't succeed in all our efforts. I mean, there are sensitive areas where we have had tough discussions, and And you may see areas where we could have had better results. But I think on a general note that most of our important sectors has been covered, but without going into specifics.
Sure. If I
Yeah,
may something to...
you may. And then
help
we have a
answer.
question after that, yeah.
Yes, in regards to the next steps, as I said before, I believe the promotion of what it's all about, this FTA, is very important. That's why we are already working with Innovation Norway, but also NHO for promoting it maybe next year after we have signing and hopefully all the ratification process done, that we can do something together. And that's very important also. And I had a chance to talk to the CEO of Innovation Norway about this, getting a closer relationship with Apex in Brazil, our trade promotion agency. So SMEs is very important. They are represented over there as well. So the big companies, they know their way, but the SMEs, I totally agree with you. Also, they need some support. And last but not least, I believe this free trade agreement is also a very important sign or signal to the international community. We mentioned in a moment that we are living on tariff wars and protectionism, that now our countries, regions, Mercosur and NAFTA are giving. I mean, a sign that we are for a rules-based multilateral trade system as well. It's very important. So yes, regional cooperation is important, but let's not forget the multilateral importance as well to keep it. And again, Brazil, Norway, Argentina, we are defenders of this free trade, and this is very, very important. On WTO, for example, Henrik mentioned the importance of this channel for dialogue under this agreement, but also we need the channel for dialogue on multilateral basis as well. So reforming the dispute settlement, that is, ironically, we are celebrating 30 years of WTO this year. And most people forget to mention about it because we are concerned about this tariff wars. So that's very important signal that we are giving, I believe, as both regions, but also a lot of work to do on the multilateral basis.
Yeah, very important comment. And I think also adding to that, also, the supply chains on both sides.
Yeah.
Right? Because we have large companies on both sides who are the buyers of goods and services, and they also need to understand the implications of this. I think we have work to do there, and that's why it's also important with the chambers of commerce, we have the Brazilian and Norwegian Chamber of Commerce here organizing this today together with us. We also have the Norwegian-Brazilian Chamber of Commerce in Brazil, and we also have a Norwegian-Argentinian Chamber of Commerce in Buenos Aires. So we have time for one more question, I think, or maybe two. If they are short.
Yeah, they're short. Well, thank you. Congratulations on the effort, and I think it's quite impressive. My question is, we're living in times where we're very worried and getting even more worried about climate. So what are your takes on those types of efforts and how they can benefit climate initiatives or initiatives that could ease our burden on climate, so to speak? Yara talked a little bit on sustainable fertilizers, but also CCS, which is a very important initiative from Norway. So what are your takes on those efforts and how this trade agreement could benefit of it?
Maybe Henrik can talk about the chapter on the sustainability.
Well, there is indeed a quite ambitious set of provisions in the agreement dealing with the relation between trade and sustainable development. I should be careful because this topic, there are various stakeholders and views on to what extent trade agreements can contribute to bringing things in the right direction. And it may not be the best tool for such work, but there are indeed ambitious provisions in the agreement, which you will see when the agreement is published.
A short comment on that. I think an important part of it is that the agreement gives more legal certainty and predictability, and that gives incentives for investments. So in the long term, I think this is extremely important also for more sustainable practices. Agriculture, of course, being extremely important in Brazil.
And if I may add very quickly, well, we have practical examples already, right? Norwegian companies and investing in Brazil and renewable energy. I mentioned before also our conversation with the NSA about sustainable fuel for maritime transportation, decarbonization. You mentioned CCS, but there are so many other companies interested in both sides now in working with decarbonization, supplying services in this segment, which is very important. So it's already a reality. We are, on a business side, but of course, an FTA where we have provision on dealing with sustainable activities or sustainable development related to trade is also very important to give more visibility, transparency, and it's a good also incentive for other companies, other services to join this cooperation between our regions. Yeah.
Yes.
Just to say that this is, of course, a very important part of my job, working with the Brazilians on climate and the forest especially, and long-standing relationship. But we also very similar in the sense that we both have a big oil and gas sector. And we're going to continue doing that for some time. So the kind of what I call the klimaspagat in Norwegian. I don't have an English word for that, but it's a dilemma for both of us. But I think there is an enormous potential for collaboration on exactly this with Brazil and Norway.
Yes, absolutely. And I guess a timely question now that we're approaching COP 30 in Belém in roughly 2 months' time. I think we have time for one last question. I think there was, okay. You raised your hand, so your turn.
Yes, quite shortly. We have been talking about imports of goods, and has it been included any points about people? Like we had the agreement with Brazil for some months ago about tax and that we don't get double taxed. Has it been included any, like that it's easier between EFTA and Mercosur about the competence, trade of competence?
Sorry.
If I may, if I'm correctly informed, there is a tax cooperation agreement between Brazil and Norway.
Double taxation.
Avoid double taxation.
Yeah.
That entered into force quite recently.
Yes.
January
January.
this year.
Yeah, but this is without the FTA as such. So I have not been involved in that process.
But is there a chapter on people in the FTA? Or?
For each of the services where there are commitments, there are levels of commitments, and the more advanced level is where you can bring your people and provide services by having nationals present in the partner country, and this depends on the varies among sectors.
Yeah. The double taxation treaty was really important, and this is something that Norwegian companies asked me about in this 4 years I've been in Brazil. And we worked really hard to get that implemented from January 1st with the help of our Brazilian friends. So actually the ratification of the letter from President Lula was walked over to the Ministry of Finance here on 31st of December last year to make it in effect from 1st of January this year. So that's been really also a really important agreement between us.
But there are some bilateral initiatives as well, of course, in higher education, for example, right? So, and we have a bilateral commission on science, technology, and innovation, and higher education. So to facilitate also this cooperation, like I said, people, right? IPR, of course, when we talk about innovation. So it all deals with what you're saying, protecting the rights of people as well, and facilitating this contacts. Yes.
Okay. One last one. just hang on so the people online can hear you as well.
Well, first of all, since I do have the floor, I just want to congratulate everyone for the results and from your persistent effort, having covered so many years, and of course this will have important implications as you've mentioned, but also on a more general level. The symbolic value is very important. So I'm Camilla Forsberg, Ministry of Foreign Affairs. My question was related to climate-friendly solutions, as this was mentioned in the introduction by State Secretary Syrstad as well. But my colleague behind here already asked that question, so this is why I didn't raise my hand again. So I think you covered it. Thank you.
Thank you.
But we should also mention the Brazil strategy that Camilla was instrumental in writing. 8 ministries participated in that strategy that we presented in May this year. So that's been also really important from our side vis-à-vis Brazil.
Thank you, Camilla.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And that strategy mentions topics such as energy transition, maritime technologies, and also let's not forget the large Norwegian companies investing in energy transition in their supply chains in Brazil, which is very important. Okay, we are a little bit over time, but I can say thank you so much on behalf of Innovation Norway, also on behalf of the Brazilian-Norwegian Chamber of Commerce. Congratulations. I mean, not signed yet, not ratified yet. We hope to get there soon. And yes, I can answer the first question. We will definitely have more activities going forward to inform more detailed about the opportunities, and very much looking forward to see the final document so that we can dig deeper into that shortly. And as I said, very excited about the prospects in general, particularly for small and medium-sized companies delivering goods and services. So stay tuned. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And please feel free to mingle and exchange.